Hello everyone. Today let us continue with anticholinergic drugs uses. Okay. So last class we have completed with anticholinergic drugs. So today we will continue with the uses of the anticholinergic drugs. So these drugs are usually used as an anti-secretory substances. Okay. So anti-secretory substances means the agents which will reduce the secretions. Okay. So in such a manner they are used as a pre-anesthetic medications. So when usually the anesthetic agents what we have used is usually irritant in nature, that is they will irritate the mucous layers. Okay, so when irritant general anesthetics were used, prior administration of anticholinergics was imperative to check increased salivary and tracheobronchial secretions. So they will increase the salivation and tracheobronchial secretions. Okay, so this will create a trouble in your during your respiration. So however, with the current use of non-irritating anesthetics, so nowadays non-irritating anesthetics are used, so these requirements has been decreased. Okay, so but even though atropine may be still employed because halothane sensitizes the heart. Okay, so to non-adrenal mediated ventricular arrhythmias which are specially prone to occur during vagal slowing. So atropinic drugs are also used to prevent the laryngospasm, not by an action of laryngeal muscles which are skeletal muscles, but by reducing the respiratory secretions that reflexively predispose to laryngospasm. So vasovagal attack during anesthesia can also be prevented. Okay, so next is in the case of peptic ulcer. So ulcer, it is over secretion of acid. So atropinic drug decreases the gastric secretion, so mainly fasting and neurogenic phase. Okay, but a little effective on gastric phase and afford a symptomatic relief in your peptic ulcer, though effective doses always produce some side effects. Okay, so this fasting, neurogenic and gastric phase, they are the phases involved in acid secretion, so which we can see in later classes. Okay, so they now have been suppressed by superseded. Okay, so nowadays these type of drugs will be overcome by H2 blockers or proton pump inhibitors, so they are the anti-ulcer drugs. So next is the pulmonary embolism. So these drugs benefit reducing the pulmonary secretions evoked reflexly by emboli. So if there is any emboli in the pulmonary region, so there will be over secretion. So these type of drugs will reduce the over secretion in pulmonary emboli condition. Also to check excessive sweating or salivation in case of Parkinsonism. So Parkinsonism is an age-related neuro disorder. So this will lead to excessive sweating and salivation. So these compounds will tend to reduce the excessive secretion of sweat and saliva. Next is the antispasmodic. Excuse me. So antispasmodics. So intestinal and renal colic, abdominal cramps. So symptomatic relief is afforded if there is no mechanical obstruction. Okay, if there is any cramps, that is powerful contraction. So however, parenteral opioids and NSAIDs, that is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, will provide greater pain relief than these atropinic type of drugs. Okay, so nowadays this atropinic type of drugs is overcome by these agents, that is opioids and NSAIDs. Next, nervous functional and drug induced diarrhea can be controlled to some extent because anticholinergics are not useful in infective diarrhea. Next, spastic constipation, irritable bowel syndrome. So there will be modest symptomatic relief may be afforded. Next is the pylorospasm, that is pylori region, there will be spasm, and gastric hypermotility, gastritis, inflammation of your stomach, and nervous dyspepsia. Dyspepsia means difficulty in swallowing. So these type of thing may be partially suppressed. Next, to relieve the urinary frequency and urgency enuresis in children. Okay, so frequency means the number of times, urgency means how urgent it is, and enuresis means bedwetting. Okay, so these things can be relieved. Oxybutynin, tolterodine and flavoxate have demonstrated good efficacy, but dry mouth and other anticholinergic effects are dose limiting. Okay, so these will produce the side effects of dry mouth and anticholinergic effects. Next is the dysmenorrhea, that is difficulty in menstrual cycle or during menstruation. So these drugs are used. So nowadays NSAIDs can also be used. So next is the bronchial asthma, asthmatic bronchitis and COPD, that is chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders. Okay, so reflex vagal activity is an important factor in causing bronchoconstriction and increased secretion in the chronic bronchitis and COPD, but a lesser extent in bronchial asthma. So orally administered atropinic drugs are bronchodilators but less effectively than adrenergic drugs, so they are not clinically used. So they dry up the secretion in the respiratory tract, may also lead to insuscitation, that is thickening of the secretion, and plugging. Plugging means blockage of the bronchioles resulting in alveolar collapse and predisposition to infection. So the mucociliary clearance will also be impaired if it is taken orally. So inhaled ipratropium bromide. So if it is inhaled, has been found to be specially effective in asthmatic bronchitis and COPD, though less in bronchial asthma. So given in aerosol, it is neither decreases the respiratory secretions nor impairs mucociliary clearance, and there are few systematic side effects. Thus, it has a place in the management of COPD. So its time in course it action it makes more suitable for regular prophylactic use rather from control of the acute attacks. So these type of drugs will be used in regular treatments. So the additive bronchodilator action with adrenergic drugs is utilized to afford the relief in acute exacerbations of asthma or COPD by administering the combination of nebulized ipratropium and beta-2 agonist through a mask. So tiotropium bromide is equally effective and longer acting alternative to ipratropium bromide. So it is used as an mydriatic and cycloplegic. So diagnostic and therapeutically. So in case of diagnostic, for testing errors of refraction, both mydriasis and cycloplegia. So cycloplegia is nothing but paralysis of your ciliary muscles of the eye. It's needed. So tropicamide have been refraction has now largely replaced by homotropin for this purpose. So these type of drugs do not cause sufficient cycloplegic in children. So more potent against agents like atropine or hyoscine have been used. So atromedic ointment 1% applied 24 hours and 2 hours before is often preferred for children below 5 years. So cyclopentalate drops is an alternative one. To facilitate the fundoscopy, only mydriasis is needed. A short acting antimuscarinics may be used, but phenylephrine is preferred, especially in elderly, for fearing precipitating in glaucoma. So a combination of phenylephrine plus tropicamide is also used. In therapeutically, so because of its longer lasting mydriatic cycloplegic and local anodyne, that is pain relieving action on cornea, atropine is very valuable in treatment of iriditis, iridocytitis, choroiditis, keratitis and corneal ulcer. So it gives rest to the intraocular muscles and cuts down their painful spasms. So atropinic drugs alternated with miotic preserve adhesions between the iris and lens or iris and cornea and may even break them if already formed. So next is then as a cardiac vagolytic. So atropine is used in contracting the sinus bradycardia and partial heart block. Selected patient was where increased vagal tone is responsible. That is example in some cases of myocardial infarction and digitalis toxicity. So however, cardiac arrhythmias and ischemia can be precipitated in some cases. So central action, it is used as a Parkinsonism. So central anticholinergics are lesser effective than levodopa. So levodopa is a drug of choice in case of Parkinsonism. These type of anticholinergic drugs can be used as an additives, okay, or adjuvant. So they are used in mild cases in drug induced extrapyramidal. Extrapyramidal means so the movements which is not under our control as an adjuvant to levodopa. Next is the motion sickness. So motion sickness is nothing but the vomiting sensation during your traveling time. Okay, so hyoscine is the most effective drug used for motion sickness. So it is particularly valuable in highly susceptible individuals and for vigorous motions. So the drug should be given prophylactically because administration after symptoms have been set in is less effective. So action lasts nearly 4 to 6 hours. A transdermal preparations will be applied behind your pinna, that is in your backside of your pinna 4 hours before the journey, has to be shown protect for 3 days. So side effects with low oral doses and transdermal medications are few, but dry mouth and sedation can occur. So driving is a highly risky one. Dicyclomine is another anticholinergic used for motion sickness. So these drugs are not effective in other types of vomiting. That is, there are some other type of vomiting are there. So these drugs are not used in those cases. So next, to antagonize the muscarinic effects of drugs and poisons. So atropine is a specific antidote for anticholinesterases and early mushroom poisoning. Atropine is or glycopyrrolate is also given to block the muscarinic actions of neostigmine used for myasthenia gravis, decurarization and cobra envomination, that is cobra bite. Next is the side effects of the anticholinergics are quite common with the use of atropine and its congeners. Okay, so they causes inconvenience but are rarely serious. So belladonna poisoning may occur due to drug overdose or consumption of seeds of berries of belladonna or datura plant. So this type of plant which is commonly a weed plant which is occurring in the farms. Next, children are highly susceptible. Manifestations are due to exaggerated pharmacological actions. So dry mouth, difficulty in swallowing and talking, dry flushed and hot skin. Next, fever, difficulty in micturition, that is urination, decrease in bowel sounds, a scarlet rash, that is reddish color rashes may be appear. So there will be dilated pupil, photophobia, that is light sensitive. Next, blurred near vision and palpitations can also occur. excitement, psychotic behavior, ataxia, that is difficulty or absence in movement, delirium, dreadful visual hallucinations, that is imaginations, hypotension, weak and rapid pulse, cardiovascular collapse with respiratory depression can also occur, and finally this will lead to convulsion and coma in case of severe poisoning. Okay, so this is about side effects and toxicity of your anticholinergic drugs. Okay, so with this we can stop, remaining we can see in the next class. Take care, bye bye.